This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Riley Smith.
Well, good day and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Today is Thursday, May 4th, 2023. We're so glad you could join us for today's show. And in today's episode, I talk with Iowa State Climatologist Dr. Glisan. We take a look at the climate in Iowa, talk a little bit about how those drier soils can actually help with some of the flooding issues, especially at the eastern part of the state. We also have a check of that ag weather outlook, but first, let's run down the markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
At the end of another trading day in the ag marketplace, we're talking with Curt Kimmel of agmarket.net. Now, first off, Curt, what's been going on in the grain markets today?
Oh boy, this whole week's been kind of dynamic here. We started out lower, then of course yesterday the news of the drone strike. Too bad the writers in Hollywood are on strike, because there's been kinds of comments whether this was staged or whether it was just a kite with a bottle rocket on it, but it was a serious event. And that gave the market some lift here yesterday, putting in some reversals to the upside, which is kind of constructive, we feel. But it illustrates you got to have some staying power in here, because things can happen in the middle of the night that we don't know about. But that's still in the cards, uncertainty about the grain coming out of the Black Sea region. Then this morning we saw the weekly export sales report. They confirmed the Chinese cancellations. For the week, we saw 12 million bushels of cancellations. And that's the first time we've seen that this time of year. This is the prime time to see these exports. New crop sales, 4.8. Beans, we sold about 10 million bushels, 2 million new bushels. Wheat sales, Chicago was 7 million bushels. New crop, 10 million bushels. Meal sales, 179, oil, 14. So it was within range, but kind of took the air out of the sales. We were a little lower this morning, but as the day went on, you still continue to be concerned about the weather forecast, even though short-term in here, plain progress is scooting right along. There's talk that, if this trend continues on this dry conditions, it could be, a market maker down the road. Somebody had out a map of a 20-year trend on topsoil, the top 4 inches, and we are at 20-year lows on the top 4 inches. Now, there's moisture below there, but it just illustrates why we're seeing these dust storms materialize, especially in central Illinois where we're at. We're pretty well wrapped up planting here in central Illinois, putting in the seed beans. They held back on that. A little bit of corn to go in. We're pretty good shape. So a little bit of replanting the beans. Guys got aggressive on beans. Get those in this week, and then we'll see what the weatherman brings. The weather forecast is going to be the dominant feature as we move through the growing season. Had a daily price reversal up yesterday, kind of hung in there today. For the week, tomorrow's going to be kind of important. For the week, we're up about 4 cents. July corn, D's corn's up 3/4. Beans are mixed, and the wheat's up about 12 cents from last Friday. So Friday's going to be a key market maker as far as a technical picture. Make sure we hold these reversals, finish higher on the week. It's a full moon, and so about anything can happen here as we head into the weekend.
Right, and we know with we've got that huge price disparity with Brazil still. Obviously, that's been a big thing behind the export demand and kind of why we're seeing what we're seeing right now. With those export sales, I mean, when you kind of say that it was, sure, the report said it was neutral, but when you're expecting it to be lower, it doesn't take much for it to be neutral, right?
Yeah, when you have the worst case scenario pictured in there, if it's within range, that helps take the edge off. But they're pretty well booked up. They're having logistics issues. So those beans and corn here in the future need to come out of there in a timely fashion. So hopefully we can pick up a little bit more export news. Next Friday, a week from tomorrow, we'll have the monthly supply and demand report, and the trade is factoring in a little lower demand number, so a week on exports, and so therefore we can see the ending stocks increase slightly maybe here, but we're halfway through the marketing year and a lot can happen in this type of atmosphere.
All right, and then on the other side of the marketplace in the livestock complex, what have we seen going on there today?
Yeah, the cattle market kind of toppy in through here. These June fats kind of stalled out. Key supports at 161. If we can't hold that, maybe we can roll over a little bit in through here. This morning, the weekly export sales report sold 20. Japan, South Korea, and China continues to be good buyer exports, kind of good in here. One thing we picked up, I don't know if the other analysts has mentioned it, is you book a spot at the local packer about a year in advance. But what they're finding is there's some cancellations. And so there's cases where if you didn't have an appointment, you can get in right away. So whether that's good or not, we'll see. The lean hogs gave us a little head fake here. We finished lower in through here. The lean index trying to improve a little bit. We saw this morning's weekly export sales report show 49. We sold to Mexico and China. They were our big customers on the weekly side. The key is Memorial Day weekend. They'll start moving some stuff here. They'd like to get that in place 2 weeks ahead of time. So see if we can't firm out and get some bookings on and get that on the retail shelf and get some clearance. The bellies, the hams, the loins, still at a huge discount wholesale level. So hopefully they'll pass on those savings to the consumer.
All right, Curt, lots of great information today. For those of our listeners and our viewers who would like to get in touch with folks at agmarket.net and learn more, how can they do that?
You can go to our website, agmarket.net, click on Intel. That's where you go for the information, what our agmarket.net team puts together, some good stuff there. Also, too, you just give us a call here at our local office in Central Illinois at 1-800-779-1515.
Great talking with you today, as always, Curt, and we look forward to hearing from you again soon.
Very good. Take care.
That again was Curt Kimmel of agmarket.net. We'll go ahead and take a look at how those numbers close. That's courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart. July corn is up half a cent at $5.89 even. December new crop down 2 even at $5.28 1/2. July soybeans up a quarter at $14.17 3/4. November new crop down 3 3/4 at $12.68 1/2. July soybean meal down 30 at $4.24.60. Soybean oil down 16 at $52.48. Chicago wheat up 5 1/4 at $6.45 even. Minneapolis spring wheat up 8 1/2 at $8.12 even. Kansas City hard red wheat up 13 1/4 at $7.98 1/4. July oats up 8 3/4 at $3.19 even. On the Merc, June live cattle down 7 at $161.57. May feeders up 22 at $203.65. May lean hogs down 107 at $77.07. June pork cutout down 35 at $91.97. Class 3 milk down 2 cents at $17.06. And that's been a check of the markets here on Ag Matters PM. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. When we come back, I talk with Iowa State Climatologist Dr. Justin Glisan. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Once again this week, I had a chat with Iowa State Climatologist Dr. Justin Glisan about the weather and climate patterns we're seeing in Iowa. Now, of course, we know that for a while we've been dealing with some drought, and those drier conditions are persisting. And actually, even with some of those rainfall events, some of those dry conditions are even expanding across the state. But Glisan said that it's not entirely bad because some of those drier soils are actually helping to absorb some of the flooding that's coming from the Mississippi River. Well, we're back again this week with Iowa State climatologist Dr. Justin Glisan to provide an update on the drought conditions and a bit of the weather here in Iowa. Now, first off, on those drought conditions, how's that drought monitor looking for the state right now?
Hey, Riley, good to be with you. So we've seen a slight expansion of that D0 abnormally dry category across southeastern Iowa. You look over the last 30 days, it's been one of the drier parts of the state. It's missed out on some widespread rainfalls that we've seen across the northwestern, basically 2/3 of the state. So the abnormally dry category is not drought, but it's a 30 to 60 day indicator of dryness creeping in.
And you mentioned this last week, but even with those rainfall amounts that we have been getting, it's still possible for that kind of drought condition or just that dryness to expand, right?
Yeah, excellent point. So we have a rule of thumb that if you reach the climatologically expected rainfall for a given week, that would basically hold the map status quo. So you wouldn't see any improvement or degradation. You really need to start chipping into moisture deficits, subsoil moisture profiles, also stream flows, as well as those meteorological precipitation deficits to really improve drought conditions. So if you're underperforming on those numbers, even if you're getting widespread rainfalls over the next few weeks to months, with May and June being the two wettest months for the state, you can still see drought expand and intensify.
Well, and then while some parts of the state are dealing with drought, others are seeing those flood issues, especially along the Mississippi. Now, have we seen at this point the worst of the flooding go through already, or do we still have more yet to come?
It seems like we've seen the worst of it. We're currently seeing cresting of the river along the river gauges on the Mississippi side. Definitely major flooding along the eastern border of Iowa. We've seen widespread impacts in terms of the expected impacts from aerial flooding that we've seen on the Mississippi side. We haven't really seen any agricultural impacts. Of course, low-lying lands have been covered. But overall, while we don't like to see major flooding on the Mississippi side, we haven't really seen any agricultural impacts beside barge traffic being stopped along portions of basically the northern part of Iowa into the southern part of Minnesota and Wisconsin. So that can impact input costs, but overall we'll just have to see the precipitation moving forward if we do see any more inputs that would keep stream flows at those higher levels.
Well, that's just kind of a curious situation for the trade industry, because in the past 6 months, they've seen really low water levels that's been stopping barge traffic. Now it's too high to get that traffic through. After this kind of flooding condition that runs its course, are the soils perhaps thawed enough or dry enough that they could absorb some of that water? Will it get too low, or will we kind of return to a more normal level?
Yeah, that's a great question. So soils across eastern Iowa are drier. They're not as dry as we see in western Iowa. We still have some snowpack across the Upper Peninsula in Michigan that will add to that snow water equivalent to the Upper Mississippi Basin stream flow inputs. So soils are dry enough that they can infiltrate some of this moisture that we're seeing in the outlooks and in the 7-day forecast. So hydrologically, I don't think that we'll see an event in which we see those river levels going back into that major flood stage. Looking into the future, it's hard to say if our river levels will stay at the near normal levels given the drier soils that we have. But if we look at the outlooks getting into May, June, July, and the possibility of an El Nino, this is a wetter pattern than we would be in for La Nina. So I don't think we're going to see those low river levels like we've seen over the last year after the flood recedes.
And then just thinking of the weather that we're seeing right now, it's been pretty windy the past couple days. Of course, a lot of us here in Iowa are pretty used to that. That's something that's pretty frequent around here. But that wind is kind of dying down a little bit. What's been kind of the main cause behind that wind, and are we looking to have just kind of windy weather for the time being?
Well, we are seeing the winds die down. We've seen 3 to 4 days of particularly windy conditions across the upper Midwest. This is caused by a cutoff low over the Great Lakes. When you have a cutoff low pressure center, it's what the name suggests. It's cut off from the driving main flow, so it's not able to steer itself across the United States. So it just kind of hangs out and rotates. And when you have a very tight pressure gradient between that low pressure center and high pressure to our west, that's where you see wind speeds sustained 30 to 40 miles per hour, gusts getting into the 50 to 60 mile per hour range. And then we saw that catastrophic pileup in Illinois on I-55 with those extremely strong winds driving soil into the air and producing low to no visibility, and hence a large traffic pileup.
Now, especially in the western parts of Iowa, like we mentioned earlier, pretty dry. Are they at any risk of that wind blowing up some dust storms as well?
It doesn't look like that. We think back to that May 12th derecho that clipped the northwest corner of Iowa last year. That was also a cause of what we call a haboob, or a dust storm that we typically see in Africa or the desert Southwest. I don't think we're in. Our soils are a little different than what we see in Illinois, and we've had some crusting on the topsoil with recent rainfalls. So I don't think that we're going to see widespread dust storms across the state, especially in western Iowa, as you mentioned, where the driest conditions are.
All right, lots of great information today, Justin. For those of our listeners who would like to get in touch and learn more, or even provide you with some ground condition reports, how can they do that?
Yeah, give me a call. 515-281-8981 is my direct office line. Email me at justin.glisan@iowaagriculture.gov, or Google Iowa Climatology Bureau, and it has all my contact information.
All right, thanks for taking the time to visit with us today, Justin, and we'll talk with you again soon.
Thanks, Riley. Always nice to be with you.
That again was Iowa State Climatologist Dr. Justin Glisan. As for right now, let's go ahead and take a look at the ag weather outlook. The temperatures today are about as good as you can get for spring right now, and especially for planting. I've already seen plenty of planters out rolling in the fields today as we're looking at highs even hovering around the 80-degree range. Now tomorrow those temps are going to be a little bit lower, still close to the 70s, and of course we have that rain moving in for tomorrow. Most of the state can expect either showers or thunderstorms depending on where you are. So let's go ahead and see what the National Weather Service has in store for the next 24 hours. As you can see from the National Weather Service, we've got some more rain coming through the state. Today it'll be sunny with a slight chance for storms in the northwest, highs ranging from the mid-70s to low 80s. Tonight, it'll be variably cloudy with a good chance for thunderstorms or heavy rain across the state, lows ranging from the upper 40s to mid-50s. Tomorrow, there's a chance for showers or storms across the state once again, highs ranging from the upper 60s to mid-70s. Taking a look at the affiliate weather map for tomorrow, Cherokee will see showers turning into storms and a high around 67. Shenandoah, a chance for showers and storms as well, high of 74. Des Moines, chance for showers and 71. Waterloo, showers and 69. Albia, showers and 68. Clinton, also a chance for showers and a high around 74. For more detailed forecasts in your part of the state, make sure to check in with your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. That's been a check of the Ag Weather Outlook, and that also brings us to the end of this episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on social media at Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And you can find all of our video content as well as previous episodes of AMPM on our YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell to see when those videos go live. Don't forget as well our free Twice Daily Market podcast on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Riley Smith. On behalf of Mark Magnuson and Dustin Huffman, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.